And then there's Ozzy.
Ozzy promised to be the new and the next, a media company aimed at a younger audience with slick content curated for social media.
Until Ozzy tried to catfish Goldman Sachs.
Ozzy's COO, Samir Rao, impersonated a YouTube executive on a conference call with Goldman Sachs, a potential investor. The executives began to grow suspicious when the voice on the phone sounded digitally altered.
Mr. Sachs, let me tell you, Ozzy's numbers were amazeballs. Straight up viral, like Logan Paul on steroids, okay?
There's our board members telling them what happened. I did.
What was the purpose of saying he was an exec at YouTube?
I really think it's something that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't think it's something that makes sense.
Doesn't make sense? Embellishing your numbers to investors makes a lot of sense to me. Anyway, no need to worry. On Friday, Ozzy said it would shut its operations down. No harm, no foul. And then...
And let's start with the status of Ozzy as we sit right now. Reports that the company shut down on Friday. Is that true? Is the company shut down, or are you still open for business?
You know, we're going to open for business, so we're making news today. This is our Lazarus moment, if you will. This is our Tylenol moment.
Lazarus and Tylenol? That doesn't make sense. What's a Tylenol moment? What's a Lazarus moment? Good thing we're talking to Brian Morrissey, who was quoted in the groundbreaking New York Times story as saying, "I've never heard an explanation of Ozzy that made sense to me. Never once in my life has a piece of content from Ozzy crossed into my world organically." Brian, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Embellishing numbers is one thing, but impersonating a YouTube exec to a bunch of Goldman Sachs investors?
Sounds like a Charlie's Angels episode to me. I mean, they were always like trying to do like disguising their voice and stuff when they were asking for ransom payments with those like cutout letters for magazines. But no, Ben Smith, the columnist, reached out last week and he was like, "You've been poking at Ozzy for years," which is true. I have been, because it was obvious that this was not everything that it seemed to be. And I feel like he was like, "I've got this amazing detail and stuff like this." And it is an amazing detail, but I think sometimes it can obscure the larger story, which is that everyone kind of knew this was bullshit. It was obviously bullshit. And yet in the media world, that doesn't matter. You see entire entities just like built off of just like nothingness. And I think that's the interesting part of this story, is so many things have happened in media with particularly with the rise of platforms and programmatic, that has made it easier to sort of growth hack and engineer media that has sort of nothing. Like, it's just made out of complete air. There's no connection to an audience. There's no actual value being created for anyone. I hope I'm allowed to say bullshit because I've said it 15 times. But
you can say bullshit.
Okay. It was very obvious that Theranos was bullshit to people who were in the field, right? So where did they go for their investors, and where did they get their attention with the hype? They went to people who didn't understand it. Same thing with WeWork. The people who were in the corporate real estate industry knew that WeWork was bullshit. Where did they go to get their money? They went to like Mayoshi-san, what's his name, Masa, and what do you know about commercial real estate? There's like a thread that runs through all of this bullshit in some way. Charismatic founder, always go to deep-pocketed, egotistical people who don't have the means or the time or the care to actually do the proper diligence.
Oftentimes, I think too, these founders are just surrounded by enablers, right? Like, their entire persona around them are just like yes men, right? So everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid around them, and that creates like more of a buzz or something. And then I think a lot of these guys, to use Brian's word, like start believing their own bullshit.
There's so many levels to this story that are like crazy to me. Like, the first is the call itself, right? And I wish Ben doesn't mention who else from Ozzy was on the call. Was Carlos on that call? And anybody else from Ozzy's side that was on that call would have had to have known what was going on. I feel like it would have been transparent to them. And I have to imagine that there were other big people on the call because it was with Goldman Sachs and $40 million on the line. But the other part of it that's crazy, that I think Brian's right on is, we can pick on Ozzy, but it's indicative of something else. I mean, the article itself ends with something like, and they raised another $30 million anyways, right, with somebody else. So it's like, even despite this, like, Emperor has no clothes, and like there's an article about the Emperor having no clothes, the Emperor's team is like, yeah, well, that day we didn't have any clothes, but we trust us, we've got great outfits.
I'm starting to realize that it's not a fraud, it's a conspiracy, because there's interested parties that want the artifice to continue, and so it does continue.
Just so the audience knows, kind of one of the main details is so the CEO then apparently apologized profusely to Goldman Sachs, saying that the voice was Samir Rao, who's the co-founder and chief operating officer of Ozzy, according to 4 people they spoke with. So it was done very much from the highest rungs of the company.